over $1,000 after pumping over $3,000 as baby bears come out of their mother's bed sheets after giving their moms a good morning kissy smooch and receiving their daily diaper change. But are the baby bears ready to giga dump the Bitcoin bulls to 10K? No. Are they ready to dump the Bitcoin bulls below 20K? That is a more likely scenario if this one thing happens. And even bigger than all of that is this. Right now, the Bitcoin price sits firmly above 20,000 US dollars, as the baby bears are now building confidence after continued run for Bitcoin's price. Are we now about to see a pullback, and what would that look like? Or in fact, are the baby bulls just getting started? And that's really what I want to be talking about here. So if we look at Bitcoin's price on the daily chart here, guys, Bitcoin overnight, it touched yesterday at about 25,200, 25,300, depending on which exchange you're looking at. And then it got firmly, pretty quickly, you can see, this is just the hourly chart. You can see in just a few hours going from 25,000 to 23,000. However, what you see next so far is a move back above these levels, as it bounced exactly at the level where Bitcoin was unable to break above for the past 3 weeks. We spent about 3 weeks getting rejected firmly off of 23,500. And at least in the very short term, it looks as though we could have turned that into support. So over the weekend, is it possible Bitcoin runs a little bit more as the stock market closes? Well, I think that's a real scenario, and only for the reason that I'm about to say here. It's that I think the stock market looks like it's about to roll over. I don't think the stock market looks that good. And I've been saying that over and over and over. This chart is the reason for this. I personally think this is going to be a bullish retest, but what does that mean? It means dumping. Okay, and we already are seeing that. I started talking about this about 5 or 6 days ago, and here we are. The last 2 days, we have been dumping. And as of, for the first time since actually January 6th, the first time all year, we're actually below the 21-day moving average for Bitcoin. So that's kind of big, right? This is the very first time we've breached below the 21-day after going above it since this year started. So that's pretty big. We have these bearish signals flashing on the MACD, RSI, and we see that, again, I personally think that, if we see something like this where we get a retest and we come down to this level, I think that would be healthy, obviously. I think it requires that we go below 4,000, or at least even test 4,000. So that's the bigger picture here. While I'm very bullish on Bitcoin, but the stock market just simply looks like we are going to get potentially a multi-week dump. And guys, you know how that goes. It's not guaranteed, but it's very likely that if the stock market dumps, Bitcoin's not going to pump. If the stock market dumps, then Bitcoin will likely dump as well. However, Bitcoin has been pumping for quite a long time. So if we did get a more macro retest, I think that that's healthy. And so I'm just trying to give you warning for this, because there are going to be people, I'm sure, picture this. Imagine this crazy scenario. Let's say 5 days from now, Bitcoin's at 21,000. People are just losing their bananas, saying it's the end. We're going back to $5 per Bitcoin, crazy stuff like that. And then it ends up not doing that, and we end up about above 30,000 by mid-March or something. It's a scenario I think is very worth looking at. And again, as I've been maintaining, I think at some point we will get a retest of 20K, and that also might mean in very short amounts of time we might go below it. So I'm just trying to prepare you for that, because that is absolutely a realistic and normal thing. Considering, guys, look at this chart. Now, there's more I want to talk about with that, but I also want to mention this, is that if we look at Bitcoin on the weekly chart and we pull out the VPVR, which you see right here, I'm going to highlight it on the right side of the screen right here. The VPVR shows all of the accumulated volume at different trading levels. And you see where on this chart, where the biggest levels of accumulated volume are, this is the point of control right here, so the biggest, and that's right at exactly 19,200. The next biggest one is at 16,600. So guys, picture this. If Bitcoin gets a dump, this is one of the reasons I'm confident here, because if Bitcoin gets a dump, it only has so much momentum before it can find support and ultimately bounce. And the reason that this is very big is because with the very beginning stages, in my opinion, of not setting lower lows, in fact, setting higher highs, which we've already been doing just as the last few weeks. We've been setting higher lows instead of lower lows for the very first time. When we breached this level here, and then this one right here, and this one right here. Oh man, the first two lines were so straight. I wanted to get that one really good. That's pretty good. Those are actually, all three of those are really good. Very nice. But if you take a look, I mean, see, obviously, like, huge support at 16,007, at 19,000. And right now, where we just most recently broke, 23,000. So if Bitcoin does initiate a dump, I get more bullish. Because if we come down, we retest this level. Let's say we retest right here. It's going to take a lot to break that. It is going to take so much, in my opinion, to break 20K. Because if we really zoom out here, take a look at this level. We spent from June 13th to November-ish before we concretely broke 20K and really plummeted below it. Yeah, we had a little bit of squeaks and peaks below it for a while, but ultimately we were right around 20K. The real broke down actually happened because of SBF, that absolute, he's not a good guy, right? He's an absolute, he's a big ding dong. If I want to put it meanly, excuse my language, he's a big ding dong. SBF, if you're watching this, honestly, kiss my butt. But if we take a look here, clearly 20K is a gigantic level of support, and also we have massive amounts of VPVR volume now at 16 as well. So if we get a dump, that makes me more excited. That's where I'm going to put in more long positions. So very big. It's very exciting for me. And another thing I want to highlight, obviously, I want to start mentioning this maybe every other day, but cryptocurrency total market cap in the middle of the biggest descending, broadening wedge in the history of mankind. So very big. But I do want to highlight this. Titan of Crypto on Twitter posting this. The 2-month time frame of the stochastic RSI told us to buy Bitcoin a few weeks ago, and it has initiated and shown us when to buy, when to sell, looking at Bitcoin's macro chart. It's only happened a handful of times of the last 13 years. So this is not something that happens every other week. This very rarely happens. And also, Mohit Sarut on Twitter, Sing Soro is his handle here. The mother of all Bitcoin bullish signals has flashed, and it is a dollar cost average indicator. Historically, it has flashed only 3 times in Bitcoin's existence, and each occurrence has led to massive rallies. 7,400% in 2015, 160% in 2019, and 640% in 2020. And this is only the 4th time that it's flashed. And he says here, this signal is suggesting a completely raging bull market. And so that's, I don't want to say that's big, but I mean, let's be honest, that's pretty big. The DXY as well actually getting a little bit of a rejection once again. As I've been saying for weeks, I think the DXY has to have some sort of breakout before getting rejected, potentially at 2 areas, right around 108 and 110. If it can break 105, which it has not been able to do so far. So I want to see that happen first. Again, I'm not bullish on the DXY, but I do think that it's been oversold to where it needs some sort of pump. Just like Bitcoin, it can only dump so much before it gets a pump, and it can only pump so much before it gets a dump. But also Bitcoin's 1-week chart, again, guys, one thing we do have to realize is we're still below this death cross, right where the 50 and 200 moving averages meet. So, yeah, I mean, breaking that is very bullish, clearly, but I don't necessarily know if we can do it this week. I don't know if we can do it this weekend. I honestly don't want it to happen this weekend. I don't like weekend price action. I don't like weekend trading, so I prefer the week. Because again, say Bitcoin would pump $5,000 over the weekend, and then the stock market was dumping on Monday, Bitcoin would probably dump also. So it doesn't matter. I mean, it's not like it's just not very reliable. But as well, again, Bitcoin's above all of its key daily moving averages as well. In the very short term, I'm very excited to see what happens here. With the stock market going down, if I'm being totally objective and non-biased, you have to think Bitcoin might get pulled down with it, but we are going into weekend price action. So Bitcoin doesn't necessarily have to do that as we go into the weekend. But again, I do think that the SPX will be receiving a pullback over the next couple of days, over the next couple of weeks, and we're already seeing that. I've been saying it all week. I keep repeating myself, but it's what's happening now. So that was right. And it doesn't look like, again, I like to be very bullish, but if something obviously bearish happens, even though when I say that, it's bearish in the short term, but it could end up being the most bullish thing of all if we get a back test of that year-long resistance line. Okay? If we get a back test of this year-long resistance line here, we get a back test and confirm that there literally is not a more bullish scenario. But in the short term, it can look very bearish, right? Back tests never look bullish when they're happening. Retests never look bullish when they're happening. It's only in retrospect. It's only in hindsight that you can look at that and be like, wow, it was just testing those levels before it went back up. Is chip visual subscribe to these absolutely time-sensitive alerts. Take advantage of absolutely massive bonuses with BITGET and BitGet below. 0 trading fees when you sign up with my links to both those sites. In addition, over $50,000 in trading bonuses, welcome bonuses as well. And the copy trade feature now live on Bybit as well. Without any further ado, it's free.